The Berlin Consensus pointed out a number of things that are different. For those of us who participate in taking care of individuals who suffer traumatic brain injury and concussions on a regular basis, it now is a single source for people to reference. Whereas before we would say reference this journal looking at rehabilitation, reference this journal looking at things like biomarkers, reference this journal looking at things like helmet sensors. So to start off, the Berlin Consensus was able to summarize a number of issues, including that it is more than just recognizing a concussion. It is also making sure that you are evaluating the athlete on more than one occasion. So the reevaluation process is critically important. It is not just a one-time sideline screen that you're checking on an athlete. If you've made a decision to return an athlete onto the field, you're not done. You are re-evaluating them at every opportunity. Additionally, rest. While there has been different recommendations for the duration of rest, some no rest from a long time ago, some to extreme rest very recently, the recommendation for rest between 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes it might need a little bit longer at 72 hours, but after that we actually want to get athletes back to activity. Still avoiding another injury, but getting back to some physical activity, because we know that physical activity can actually be helpful, not just for their mental health, but also for their physical health and returning to activity. Also, rehabilitation. There have been a number of studies looking at rehabilitation in severe and moderate traumatic brain injuries, and in concussion, rehabilitation can be helpful as well. We don't want to wait too long, but once the concussion has gone beyond the typical recovery period, or there's an indication that it is going to go longer, then rehabilitation that may include vestibular or balance rehabilitation, may include occupational therapy for eye movement disorders, may include a speech cognitive therapy to help with cognitive deficits after a concussion, can be very helpful. Additionally, we know that we want to make sure that our athletes are returning in a gradual fashion and that they haven't gotten back to their full sport until they've returned to learn, until they are back at their pre-injury cognitive state, that they are in school, that they are functioning at the highest level. Also, looking at elite athletes. Once again, I have the privilege of working with professional athletes, college athletes, high school athletes, and even youth athletes, treating them with the same principles. So just because you're an elite athlete doesn't mean that you can fly through this process at a faster rate, or that we're going to ignore some aspects of concussion. The principles remain. And lastly, that we really need to be cognizant about repeat injuries and multiple injuries. That we want to make sure that their brain is not just healthy after this particular concussion, but that we are looking and considering some of the long-term ramifications. While the jury's still out on some of the research and the cause and effect of head injury and things like chronic traumatic encephalopathy, we need to make sure that we have an open discussion with our patients about that.